Walk toward a pigeon right now. Go ahead, just walk straight at it. It flies away. Every time, without fail. You didn't threaten it, you didn't make any aggressive movements. You just existed in its direction and it left immediately. Now consider the fact that 15,000 years ago, a human walked toward a wolf, and instead of running, the wolf stayed. And that one moment, that single decision by one animal to not flee, eventually produced every dog that has ever existed, every golden retriever that has ever destroyed a couch, every chihuahua that has ever had opinions about things, every dog currently wearing a coat somewhere that costs more than your dinner. All of it traces back to one wolf that didn't run. So how exactly did that happen? How did ancient humans go from being something wild animals fled from to something wild animals chose to be near? The answer is weirder, slower, and significantly more accidental than anyone gives it credit for. Here's the thing most people get completely wrong about animal fear. Animals are not born afraid of humans. That sounds wrong. It feels wrong. But it's actually one of the most well-supported findings in animal behavior research, and once you understand it, the entire story changes. Scientists call it flight initiation distance, FID. It's the point at which an animal decides to run from something approaching it. And that distance is not fixed, it's not hardwired. It shifts based on experience, environment, and what that animal has learned from its ancestors about what's actually dangerous. The proof is sitting on the Galapagos Islands right now. Animals on the Galapagos evolved in an ecosystem with no large mammalian predators and almost no human contact for most of their history. You can walk directly up to a blue-footed booby. It will look at you. It will not move. Not because it's stupid, because nothing in its evolutionary history ever gave it a reason to run from something that looks like you. Researchers call this island tameness. It means fear of humans is not some ancient biological default, it's a learned response, an adaptation, which means it can be unlearned. Or more accurately, it means it was never there in the first place until humans gave animals a reason to develop it. Which raises a very uncomfortable follow-up question. When ancient humans were trying to earn the trust of wild animals, what exactly were they asking those animals to overcome? From an animal's perspective, a human being is a walking list of predator warning signs. Bipedal, tall, forward-facing eyes, which in nature almost always means something that hunts by locking onto a target. Unpredictable movement patterns, capable of coordinated group behavior in ways that most prey animals find deeply alarming. When a wolf first encountered a human, somewhere deep in its nervous system, several ancient alarm systems fired simultaneously, and yet some wolves stayed anyway. Not because they overcame their fear through some profound interspecies moment of connection, but because of something significantly less romantic. Garbage. Ancient humans were messy, spectacularly, persistently messy. They left behind massive piles of bone marrow, scrap meat, animal hides, high-calorie food, just sitting there, requiring no hunting, no chasing, no risk of injury. For a wolf with a slightly lower baseline fear response than its packmates, that pile of scraps was a very compelling argument for staying close. The wolves that were bolder, calmer, slightly less reactive around humans, those wolves ate more, had more offspring, and those offspring inherited the same calmer temperament. Over many generations, this created a separate population of wolves that were, by definition, the ones most comfortable near humans. They didn't get tamed, they self-selected. The wolves chose this, sort of. Now here's where it gets interesting, because at some point, humans started making decisions too. The relationship stopped being one-directional. Humans noticed that the wolves hanging around camp were useful. They warned when other predators approached. They helped track prey. A living alarm system with teeth, and it was basically just showing up and asking for leftovers. The humans that kept these wolves nearby survived better. The wolves that stayed near humans survived better. Two species, both acting entirely in their own self-interest, accidentally building one of the most successful partnerships in natural history. But we know it became more than just utility. And we know this because of what archaeologists found in Germany. 14,200 years ago, 3 individuals were buried together: a man, a woman, and a dog. The dog had been sick. Dental records showed it had suffered canine distemper at around 21 weeks old, a disease that would have made it completely helpless, unable to eat on its own, requiring constant care. It survived, which means the humans kept it alive through the illness, fed it, cleaned it, sheltered it when it had nothing practical to offer them at all, and then they buried it with them. That is not a working relationship. That is something else. 2,000 years later, at a site in Israel, archaeologists found another burial. A human skeleton with its left hand resting deliberately across the chest of a small puppy. Someone decided they wanted to go into whatever comes next, still touching their dog. The first domestic relationship in human history wasn't built on usefulness. It was built on the same thing all the best relationships are built on: showing up, being predictable, not being a threat. But wolves were a specific case. Not every animal was available for this kind of partnership, and the reasons why are genuinely fascinating. Wolves had something most large predators don't: social architecture that was already compatible with the way humans operate. Pack hierarchies, cooperative hunting, complex communication through facial expressions, posture, and eye contact. A social structure humans could essentially step into. Bears couldn't do this. Solitary animals with predatory drives that treated smaller creatures, including humans, as either competition or food. Lions couldn't do this either. Despite living in groups, they operate on territorial dominance and aggressive hierarchy structures that don't map onto human social frameworks. And then there are zebras, which is a perfect example of how evolutionary history can make an animal completely unavailable for domestication, regardless of how useful it would theoretically be. Zebras evolved alongside African apex predators for millions of years. Every generation, the nervous, hyper-vigilant, explosively reactive zebras survived. The calmer ones got eaten. So zebras today have a fight-or-flight response so deeply dialed up that they cannot be safely kept in captivity. They don't habituate, they don't settle. Their biology literally will not allow it. Horses worked because wild horse populations had herd structures with clear social hierarchies that humans could enter. Zebras don't have that. Same continent, same general body plan, completely different evolutionary software. You can't tame something whose entire survival strategy for millions of years depended on never trusting anything. And here's the thing that the entire story builds toward. The trust that developed between ancient humans and wild animals didn't happen because humans were particularly gentle or patient or spiritually connected to nature or any of the things that stories like to suggest. It happened because certain animals in specific environments ran a calculation, and the calculation kept coming back the same way. This thing is predictable. This thing is not currently attacking me. Being near this thing produces resources and reduces danger. Trust in neuroscience is not a feeling, it's a measurable physiological state. When an animal genuinely trusts something, its cortisol drops, oxytocin increases. The brain reclassifies a stimulus from active threat to predictable resource. The stress response shuts off. That transition from threat to resource was what ancient humans had to engineer, and they did it the same way every animal behaviorist today still does it. Consistency, predictability, presence without pressure. The same path, the same time, the same behavior, repeated until the animal's nervous system reclassified them. Not magic, not instinct, just showing up the same way every time until the animal's ancient alarm system finally, slowly went quiet. The wolf that didn't run 15,000 years ago wasn't making a choice about trust. It was making a choice about calories. And somewhere in the thousands of years that followed, between the shared meals and the sick dog in Germany and the hand resting on a puppy in the dark, something changed. The calculation stopped being about what each species could get from the other and started being about something that didn't exist anywhere else in the animal kingdom. Two species that should by every biological right have been competitors or predators, choosing to just be near each other. Not because evolution told them to, because at some point, both of them decided the world was a little less dangerous when the other one was around.